Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting co-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at MWP News Gaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good morning and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam. I believe it's next week. Is it next week or is it this week? That's the Pokemon Presents. Pokemon Presents July. Is it this week or is it next? It's next week. Okay, so that'll be next week's episode. We'll talk about it later in the day. All the news they decided to release about Pokemon Legends ZA in the months before its release later this year. Probably get some new Mega Evolutions, new information. Let's see how that goes, though. New forms. I feel like we'll get a new Xerneas and Yveltal form. I'm here for it, though. Let's see what they come up with, though. That's not what we're here for, though. Today, what we're here for is we're going to talk about Final Fantasy. The first Final Fantasy game. Because what happened was last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point, was the Steam Summer Sale. And I've played a little bit of a few Final Fantasy games. And I'd say probably the deepest into Final Fantasy I've gotten is Kingdom Hearts. I've played a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I've played a little bit of Final Fantasy XII. I've played a little bit of 7, the original. I've played a little bit of, what's it called? A little bit of, I played World of Final Fantasy all the way through, which is not the same thing. But I've dabbled here and there in the world of Final Fantasy. It's the kind of thing that I've always wanted to get further into, but never really did. Like, I appreciate what it's doing, and I like the turn-based RPG mechanic of it all. Like, I've always been a fan of that, as evidenced by my love of Pokemon. But at the same time, it's like I never really got into going back and playing these older games, and they had a sale, and I think there's still a sale ongoing for Final Fantasy games as of recording this. It may be, I think it ends the day this goes up. We can get the other games, and what I decided to pick up was Final Fantasy 1. Which I had previously bought once before, because I bought it for the PSP 15 years ago at this point. And now here we are at the 35th anniversary of the game's release, coinciding with that. And I had no idea that it was the anniversary when I started playing this. It just kind of worked out. And I think the thing with Final Fantasy is, as someone playing this now, playing this game now for the first time, I really like the groundwork it played. Way back when we started this podcast, we talked about Pokemon Red and Blue, and about how Pokemon Red and Blue is rough at times, and they're still kind of getting the gameplay flow, and they're figuring out the mechanics, and they're trying to figure out how are we going to make this thing work, because this is something drastically different from what we've seen before. How do we click this together and make it where it's something that, this is going to work properly? And I think they did a fairly good job with Red and Blue. And it's like, this is going to be how this is going to work, and then we're going to, move on from there. We'll expand it, grow it, make it better, refine it, all these things in the decades to come. And that's where the first Final Fantasy fits for me. I think they do a very good job. Now, again, I'm playing the Pixel Remake version. I'm not playing the original, so I don't know, because I seem to recall I tried playing the original Final Fantasy. On the PSP when I bought it, and I seem to recall it not being as directed as this. But what this is that I think is really kind of interesting is there are guardrails there, but they're not really full guardrails. Or not guardrails, but like guidelines. Like, the goal is to get the crystals to reinvigorate the world and defeat the bad guy, yada yada yada. It's the same shit, different day. Like, Final Fantasy does the same thing in every game, fundamentally. It's going to be the same gameplay loop, and that's going to be what you're tuning in and what you're buying to do each time. You're gonna explore this world, find shit, battle it, complete side quests that are gonna lead into the main quest, complete that, move on to the next thing. Um, and that is kind of where this game kind of works. Um, where it's like you're going to, you're going to explore, you're gonna figure shit out. I think there's a lot of things that they really fixed in the new version that make the game a lot more playable. I think that if I had to go through and play this game with encounters on to the degree that they are on, it's something that would have kept me from wanting to play it in full. The same goes for things like what's it called? Trying to figure out the battle, like playing through the battles is kind of annoying unless you would turn the encounters off. You can turn the encounters off, which is just great because it makes it easier to explore without being constantly bombarded with bullshit the entire time. Um, the pixel art style is very, refined and nice, but you would expect that from a remake, and I think they do that very well. Um, and the story is something that's going to hook you in and engross you, and it's not going to beat you over the head with the things that you need to do. Oh, well, here's what you got to do now. Here's what you got to do now. Here's what you got to do now. It's just the story is you got to save the world. Here's what you got to do to save the world. Go out and do it. And I think to an extent that's kind of why something like Tears of the Kingdom worked in Breath of the Wild. Because it's the same general thing. You got to save the world. There are things you can do along the way. The things you got to do along the way to get it done. Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild did a little bit differently. You don't have to actually complete everything along the way. You can just kind of run in and save Hyrule as soon as you get off the opening plateau or the opening islands, as case may be. But I think that this is something that it's like, the exploration of it all, like, it's rewarding when you explore and you find, like, okay, well, I found this person, like, very early in the game, once you rescue Sarah and then you get into the open world yourself, you're like, okay, so now what do I do? Okay, well, I found this cave, there's this witch in the cave, she's complaining she doesn't have her eye thing. Okay, so let's keep exploring. Maybe we'll find the eye somewhere else. And then you get to this town, and it's like, okay, well, here's the town with the elves. Okay, well, the elves have, the elves prince is is stuck. Okay, well, this guy's like, hey, I'm weak. I need my hat. Okay, let's get the hat. Okay, let's do like, and then it's all things you got to kind of figure out on your own. You got to look around, find a strategy guide would help, but I think a strategy guide would take away from the overall enjoyment of this because you do have to like doing the exploration yourself does make it more fun. Um, and I think this game does a great job of that. I think that the battle mechanics are pretty balanced. The thing that I think would be the one drawback, looking at this whole overall situation, would be I think death is too annoying to overcome. Like, I understand it's death, so yes, overcoming death is something that should be a little bit more significant. It's just like the the overcoming of death costs too much money, and you have to go back. And I think the mechanic of it being you have to go into the guy who's gonna resurrect them, and you have to pick each party member because like there will be situations. This happened to me a few times where three members of my party died, and I have one guy left. I'm like, all right, heal. All right, heal the first guy. All right, heal the second guy. All right, heal the third guy. And it's like, okay, but like, why? And I think the thing is too, it's without a strategy guide or without an instruction booklet. I feel like the instruction booklet would have given a better breakdown of like what abilities are available for each um, class that you get to pick from the beginning. And I think that is kind of to the detriment of this game that you don't have that really. It's like, oh well, this guy can use light and dark magic, but like not really in full like because they can use like part light and part dark, not like all the light and all the dark, which would have been nice to know before I picked him as my lead. Um, and that's kind of my or her. I think it's a girl. But it would have it would have been nice to know that before I set out. But again, that might be something that in the instruction booklet they would have laid out that I wouldn't have here. Um, but again, these are things that are going to be refined and improved over time. I think they did a great job here, kind of just laying out the world, setting out how things are going to work, and then being like, well, here we go. Go out, have fun, and let's see what you got here. Um, and the game's length speaks to that too. I mean, I think it works very well that the game is not overly long and you can complete it pretty quickly. Um, but it's definitely worth checking out. If you haven't played Final Fantasy, it's like there are a few classic games out there that we've talked about that it's like you don't have to play the original version just because it's the original version, because the game's been refined so well over time. Um, yeah, there's some merits to go back and playing it to see where it came from and all of that. But you can also make the case that, if you want to get just the experience of what the mechanics are in its most distilled form, I think in the year 2025, I wouldn't go back and play Pac-Man. Um, like, that's not a game that I would go back and play in its original form. I would go back and play one of the alternate takes. Like, even if you downloaded, Namco Museum and they had, the Pac-Man Advance, I feel like that's a better version of that game. Or if you downloaded Pac-Man, or if you played Pac-Man as it is on what's that thing called? Um, Game Pass. There's a version of it that's on Game Pass that has, it's not Pac-Man based, but there's other things in there, like Championship Edition, things like that, that have so refined the formula and made the formula so much better. It's probably better off. You're probably better off going back and playing those to get the core gameplay experience without feeling like you're doing without feeling like you're wasting time. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we'll wrap up there for today. So, like I said, next week we'll be back. We'll be talking about the Pokemon Presents presentation. We'll be talking about what's coming there, and hopefully we'll be getting a Switch 2 at some point in the near future. Hopefully that'll be happening. I'm not 100% certain. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I would really like to play Super Mario Kart World at some point, and Not Count Bananas that's kind of piquing my interest a little way, which is something that I think is surprising to me as someone who has never played a Donkey Kong game before. Um, Maybe we'll do those at some point in the future. Maybe I'll go back and play some of the old Donkey Kong games. Actually, we'll probably do that sooner rather than later. I could probably do that because that's all on Switch Online. Yeah, I think we will do that. You know what? We'll do that at some point in the future. We'll go back and play some of the old Donkey Kong games, and see what we got there. Um, But the next game we're going to be doing after this will likely be Cardboard Town, which is a game I picked up on Steam, came out fairly recently, and we'll be talking about that as part of our indie game spotlight. Check out Final Fantasy. I think playing Final Fantasy, there is some merit to it, and there is some enjoyability to be had, and I think that it is worth, especially considering each story of Final Fantasy is different. It's not like you're continuing. I mean, it's like Pokemon the same way. Each one is different, but um, I think there's only a prequel. I think Stranger in Paradise is the prequel to one. Um, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But we'll wrap up there for today. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.